good afternoon. My name is Ronit, and I'm part of the marketing team at Juno School of Business. As we do it every week, every Saturday, welcome once again to the weekly masterclass with Juno School of Business. The idea behind this masterclass is that you get to interact with industry leaders and also get to learn a lot of new things because everyone is busy. I mean, a lot of you juggle a lot of things. So why not you let us take care of your learning? So whenever you tune into this masterclass with an industry expert, you take away at least one learning, and you can implement that for the week, for the next week, right? Okay. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Dipanshu Sachdeva. Dipanshu, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and giving us your time over the weekend.
Thank you, Ronit. Really glad to, be here and interact with all of these audience here.
Great, great. Dipanshu, I'll give a quickly one-liner intro about you because I'll let you go in depth about your experience. And so for everyone who has tuned in, also would request everyone to switch on their video because we are in an online environment. Would love to see you interact with you. So if possible, you can switch on your video, right? So Dipanshu is the regional lead at AON, and he has worked with organizations like ICICI Bank, SHL, Disperse, and right now with AON. He's an alumni of IMI Delhi, and today he'll talk about how to open a sales conversation, right? Before we start off with the session, people who are joining us live would request you that if you can please share this with your friends, colleagues, so that we can spread this word because this weekly masterclass is just for learning. We don't have any other agenda. If you look at all the masterclasses that we have been doing for the last 2 years, right, we just focus on learning. So please do help us spread the word. And now we'll start off with the session. Dipanshu, would love to know in depth about your experience because a one-liner introduction would not do justice. So
Right.
please do help us understand you better.
Great, great. Thank you, Ronit. This was really good to have, to be here with all of you guys. A brief introduction, where I come from. So overall, so I work with different companies, different industries, I would say. After my MBA, I started my career with a bank, ICICI Bank. I was part of their corporate sales environment team. So yeah, I think the banking industry will give you a lot of learning, and that's where I got my initial learning taste of being in the market, understanding all my customers, and then going into back end work of what I have to sell to them. So yeah, that was a great experience. Then I followed it up with an experience in a consulting company, which is SHL. They are into human resource consulting, where they deal with the front end, enterprises across the globe on specifically talent-based consulting work. And that's where I spent almost like 6.5 years. And then I moved to a early stage startup, again into human resource learning platform based organization. It was a very aggressive environment in startup. And then my current organization is Aon Consulting. It's again a global sort of a talent consulting company, and right now again I'm dealing with enterprises. Specifically from a region perspective, I take care of North and East of India markets for Aon Consulting. Yeah. So that's a brief, before I kick start, anything else, Ronit, which you want to highlight, or I just should jump to the
No, I think we are good to go. I think thank you so much for letting us know in depth about your experience, right? And people out here on the call would love to know how do they start a sales conversation because we
Hmm.
always listen to this phrase, right? That your first impression is your last impression. And I think if we look at the entire sales cycle, the very
Hmm.
beginning plays a pivotal role. So we would
Correct.
love to know in depth from your experience how you have
Hmm.
learned this art and how you can help us understand the art as well as the science behind it as well. So yeah, please, Dipanshu, you can share your screen. Let's start
Correct.
off with this.
So perfect. So I'll just share my screen.
Yes, perfect, perfectly fine.
Is it good? Great. Okay, so before I begin this whole session, what I would like to do is give you a brief idea on what this is all about. So the most important part in any of your interaction, with anyone in the market. I'll not just say just sales conversation. If you're interacting with any person whom you never talked to, the first point is how you open that conversation with that person. Yeah. And that's where you try and build that, relationship, that rapport with that person. It can be your relatives, your friends, your prospects, anybody. Yeah. So that's where you have to understand, this topic from a view that how to open a conversation more importantly, and then sales will obviously come in as a part of that thought process. Now the whole, agenda here is not to give you, the exact statements of what you should talk to your customer first, because see, each of you come from different industries. You are selling different things. So I do not know what you are doing. Yeah, but what I can tell you is, after this session, what you will take with you is a thought process, a mindset of what to think when you go to a prospect or you talk to anyone and open some conversation with the prospect. Yeah. So your thought process has to be aligned. The thinking has to be aligned with that mindset. Yeah. With that as a context, so we'll start this. The first,
Dipanshu, before we start, apologies to interrupt right away.
yeah,
At any point of time, if people have questions, do they ask it right away, or should they wait till the end?
I think, Ronan, we can keep the questions coming in. Last 15 minutes, 10 minutes, we can take up for the questions.
Okay, sure, sure. So people who are there on the call, people can
Yeah.
raise their hand, and I'll help you. Talk about the questions. So please do that, or you can also type in the chat, and Dipanshu will take that.
Yeah, we'll take it up.
Sure.
Perfect.
Thank you, Dipanshu.
Great. Great. Okay. Uh, so, the most important point, from a sales conversation perspective, when you open the conversation, you should know what does your buyer think. And, there are a lot of research in the market, which is done by a lot of companies, and they have came up with some statistics which will help you to understand what actually is your end buyer thinking. You know, so number one point is that a lot of buyers, when being researched, they find that only 18% of the B2B salespeople are trusted, and respected. The trust factor is not there. This is one of the challenge that is coming up in the market. Second point is that 66% of salespeople are regarded as average or poor. Yeah, this is companies' feedback coming in, buyers' feedback coming into us. Again, only 31% of B2B salespeople have effective conversations, with senior executives. So when it comes to talking to CXO level executives, we find very less number of people who are actually making the cut there, right? So the biggest gap that comes here is, for all of us to understand, is that, this is all about how you are building your relationship, building your rapport with the customers. And 50% of your rapport and relationship building with anyone, any prospect, starts with the initial maybe 1 minute or 30 seconds of your conversation with the person. And that's where, if you make an impact in the initial 1 minute or 2 minute of a conversation, there are high chances that overall the feedback that the customer will carry for you will be much better than if you make a very, maybe a sad impression in the first 1 minute or 30 seconds of your conversation. Yeah. Now, with that as a context, what you're going to do is to understand that where is the gap coming in, and then we will try and bridge this gap through understanding how you should think about it. Yeah. Now, I want to ask from, you, if any one of you want to nominate and come up, what do you think is the current gap that you see in your field coming in when you talk to customer, and what the customer is understanding? Where is the gap coming in? Anybody wants to come up?
Yes, people can raise their hand, and I can unmute you. Anyone out here? Okay, we have one person. Gaurav, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think the product knowledge is the gap between the salesperson and the
Customer, or okay.
product knowledge. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah, when the seller is not having the enough product knowledge.
Hmm. Sure. Sure. Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, we have Okay, Mr. Das, I guess I am not able to. Yeah, if you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
Sagir.
Okay, that's the key. I'm really sorry about
My understanding that I feel if we are going to talk with someone of the prospect, so we need to research little bit of their background and all, what they are doing and why we are calling to them. So firstly, we need to understand the requirement of the person that we are calling to. And the another thing that we also understand that why we are calling to them. So then that conversation can be a good, maybe in term of like knowledge we need to gain from the both the side, what we are pitching and what they are the requirement from the other side is.
Nice. That's a good point. That's great.
that.
Thanks.
Okay. We have Sai as well. Can we take a few more people?
Yeah. We
Dipanshu?
can take two more.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Sai, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I feel like the gap lies in the ability to understand what exactly the other person needs. So you know, we might have the best diction or best vocabulary, but if you do not communicate our point in a susceptible way where the other person understands, that's where I see there is a link which is missing in.
Sure, Sankiran. This is again a solid point.
Yeah, that would be it, Dipanshu.
Sure, great. Okay, so I think most of you have got it right, and a lot of you must be thinking, and we are almost there. So see, what where the gap is the mindset. See, we go to a client with a mindset that we have to pitch the product, we have to get the meeting, we focus on our company does this, we have this product. But what your client is thinking, is a single line, what's in it for me? So when you open any conversation with any of your prospect, you know, let's say I'm the customer, my mindset always is, why is this guy calling me? What's in it for me? Your mindset is always like, I have to sell this to me, to me as a customer. Yeah. So that's where you to understand that when you go to a customer, you have to be in his or her shoes. You have to know that the person, the prospect is thinking that what's in it for me? Why is this guy calling me? Now, when you shift your mindset and put you in the customer shoes, you start thinking, your conversation turns in a direction which is like, will answer actually to a customer that what's in it for him. Yeah. So change your mindset is the first important point that we have to bring in, and that's what we'll cover up in this whole session. Great. Now, as I said, the first step. Now, what I've done in this session is I have laid down several steps which will help you to bridge this gap, I would say overall. Yeah. A step one for us is changing your thought process. Now, there are a few elements here. Number one is from taking a view of I need to sell this. You should always take a view with your customers or in a view that how can I build my rapport with this customer? Yeah. So with that as a thought, when you go to and prospect and start conversation, you will change yourself. So instead of focusing on what you need to sell, you will focus on how to show to a customer that I care for him. Yeah. Because if you start caring for the customer, you are putting him yourself in his or her shoes, and then you start conversing which the customer will like, and then he will give you more time and he will listen to you more importantly. Second point is, instead of focusing on just going and pitching the product and company, focus on how to create that value in the mind of your prospect. Yeah. Because the prospect is always trying, his mind is always working like, whatever the guy is saying standing in front of me, what's in it for me? So till the time you create some value in your conversation, or you try and care for him, you understand, like Daskrit, you mentioned this point of understanding the customer. Even Saikiran mentioned the point of understanding their needs. So all of these things relate exactly to this point, that you have to understand them, care for them, and create value for them. Yeah. So this is step one. Step two for us is how you can make an impactful first impression in front of your customers. Now, again, there are a few points here which you should keep in your mind when you go to a conversation. The most important point is when you go to a client, anybody, you call someone, your confidence and enthusiasm plays a very, very important role. And I can tell you with my experience that when I go to in front of the clients, my initial 1 minute of how I present myself, and if I'm calling someone, how my tone of voice is, if I'm being in front of someone face to face like an in-person meeting, how my confidence is, how enthusiastic I am, plays a very important role in the customer perceiving me as a strong guy who can create some impact, some value for him. Yeah. So your tonality of voice, your confidence, your enthusiasm all plays a very important role in creating that first impression when you start the conversation. So yeah, I covered this point. Your tone of voice becomes very important. Third important point is your dressing style. So if you are in an in-person meeting, try and see your audience. If it's an enterprise, customer, if it's sort of a, B2C customer, try and be dressed formal in front of them. Your dressing styles create that impact. And most importantly, if you're dressed right, you're confident about yourself, you will be confident in front of the customer also. Yeah. Fourth, as one of you mentioned this point of preparing it beforehand. Yeah, so this is a very important point. If you're prepared, you have researched the customer, you have researched what their needs are, you will be confident in, you know, clearly articulating what you actually wanna, talk to them. So in preparation, again, there comes some strong elements, which include number one, uh, your decision makers. If you're talking to someone, you have to understand that whether this guy is at what level in the organization. Or if you're talking to someone, what is the stature of that person? He's a decision maker or he's a stakeholder. What is that person we're talking to? Second is the market conditions. Talking to any company, any industry, any person for any of your product, you should know the market. You should know your market first. Like one of you mentioned about the product knowledge, it's also part of the preparation. So you should know you, because if the customer asks you a counter question about your market and you can't tell the answer to that person, in the initial conversations, I can guarantee you will fail there. So understanding your market, understanding their market becomes very important in that initial conversations with any of the customer. Third point is understanding their pain points. Now, this is where you will create value. When I said in the initial slide that try and create value for your customer, how will you create value? Only if you understand what is the current pain point of my customer. And the pain point comes in through the knowledge of the industry, because even sometimes the customer does not know what is my challenge. But if you know from the industry they are working in, that in this particular industry, this is the current challenges are coming up, or let's say in this company, I know from my friend that this is a current challenge, that they are searching for something. Based on my own research on LinkedIn, my referrals, you know the pain point, and then you create value through that pain point. Yeah. So all of these things make a solid impression when you go with the customer with confidence, your tonality of voice, your preparation, and this first impression when you start conversing. If you are prepared with all of these things, I can guarantee you this will be very impactful conversation, and there are high chances customer will call you back to listen more to you. Yeah, great. So now, yeah, step three. So step three comes in, which talks about the point I covered initially, that what's in it for your customer. So you should also understand uh, in detail that whatever you are talking, what's in it for your customer at the end of the day. Yeah. The number one point here is, uh, like to create value, to, get your customer on board, you should focus on the metrics that exactly impact the customer. Now, depending on what you are selling, I don't know what you're selling. You are from different industries, different context. Whatever you are selling, your product should be able to make an impact either in their lifestyle, in their savings, or in their performance. If you are selling to me and I am part of a company, whatever you're coming to sell me, your initial conversation with me should be able to make an impact in my performance in my company. So if you're selling me, let's say, some software, that software should have a positive ROI for my company. That will impact my performance in the company, and then I will listen to you and buy your software. If you're selling me some, let's say, banking product, maybe you are selling me, investment in a mutual fund. You are selling me something. Will it impact my saving or not? You have to be prepared for that, right? So all of these metrics, you have to be ready with the customer with some metrics when you go to the customer. Yeah. Second point is, anything that you're going with a customer, to have that initial conversation starters. you know, you should have some line which talks about improving their current situation. It can be anything which you are selling. The statement that you're making to the customer first time, should ideally have some line which has an impact to improve their sales or to reduce their cost or to improve efficiencies or reduce their stress levels, depending on whatever you are selling. I don't know what you are selling, but you should have a bent of mind that how can my product improve my customer's current situation, and include those lines in your initial conversation with your customer. That will make the impact. Yeah. Third is always try to generate curiosity in your customers. Yeah. So again, initial conversations with your customer, customers might ask you some counter questions, but you should be smart enough to answer them in a way that generate further curiosity in the mind of your customer. Now, how can you generate curiosity is by giving him some story which has a very solid ROI at the end of the day. Yeah. Now those stories, that ROI figures, why does every company say my product give 45% upside or 45% ROI? Customers will want to understand how does it happen. Yeah. So those statements will generate curiosity in the mind of your customer. Fourth is proof of evidence. Again, a very important part. You cannot just randomly say ki, my product does this, or in the initial conversation, okay, my thing gives 30% upside to you. You have to prove it with some solid credentials and some evidence. So give examples of other customers, other competitor of that your customer's company, that they used it and they got a 15% upside. Because see, your company, wherever whatever you're doing, you are not working with just one customer. You're working with maybe 15, 20, 100 customers. I don't know. You have to give examples to create that solid, impact in the first conversations. Yeah. So all of these things, ideally, what I'm trying to do is, trying to bring that mindset in you. All of these points will help you that whenever you go for the initial conversations and you open conversations with your sales, in your sales work style, your bent of mind should be aligned with all of these things. Yeah. Great. Step 4 for us is how to build power statements. Now, when you move further in the conversations, you open the conversation, customer liked it. Now, sometimes, you are dealing with a very tough customer. The customer might be not giving time to you, but you know that this customer, if he gives time to me, he will be, she will be a game changer. They will give you a lot of revenue, a lot of stuff. So for those customers, you have to try and build some power statements. Otherwise, they will not give you time. How much you try it. I have seen it in my career. How much I try, they don't give time. So think different. And the answer is to create some power statements for these customers. How to do it? Number one point is you have to do a lot of research on their context. To build power statement for your customer, you should know inside out of your customer, of your customer's company. Like I have done in my own work with a lot of corporates I deal with. I go and read their annual reports. I go and research, on website about what this company, is doing, where they are struggling. What is the founder of the company saying in, let's say, I go on YouTube and listen to what the CEO or the CHRO of the company is saying publicly, because that's where you get the context that where the company is struggling right now, what's happening in the company. This is point one, which will help you to build power statement. Second is when you address their issues, so you understand from various research that this is the issue that the company is facing. Now your offering to address that issue should be wrapped up with some very solid storylines. Yeah. So when you go and open some conversation with a customer, which is very difficult, complex thing, now you know the pain point. You cannot just say that, okay, I know your pain point and I will solve this. They will not give you time, I can tell you. It has to be wrapped up in a story which will solve their pain point. Yeah. A storyline can be that, for example, I can give you an example from my context where the customer, I know was struggling with bringing people on board on their company. They recruit a lot of people every year. Now they were struggling that how to create a solid employee experience in the company. I know that their annual report says that we have to create solid employee experience. People are leaving us. How can we do it? This was their pain point. At- Attrition has to be reduced. Now the answer here is that there has to be some software, some platform which will help create a solid employee experience for their company. And how you can wrap this whole solution in a storyline is something you have to think for your product. Yeah. And going further, I'll show you some of the statements which will give you example of how we can do this. Great. Third point is whatever you are telling as a story, whatever statements you are making, your statements should have tangible results that the customer will get from your product and services. So again, stories should have some tangible outcomes in terms of defined ROI, defined improvement that have happened in different companies using this. So all of this thing from a tangible result standpoint makes a very solid impact. Yeah. And again, wrap it up with competitive differentiators. So your prospect might be already evaluating it with some competition, because you are not the only one in the market who know their pain point. Your competition only also knows their pain points. They're also after your customer. Now, how you can create that differentiator and then make that conversation with the customer is again up to you. But you should keep in mind that you should know your competition as well. And you should, in the conversations that you're making to sell it, you should understand that because your competition does this and you do this better than them. So have that bent of mind when you build these power statements for your customers. And the last point here is you have to generate some bridges. So I'll cover in detail in subsequent slide what bridges mean. But at a high level, there are two kind of bridges: tactical bridges and strategic bridges. Creating any power statement, uh, you know, will involve creating a reason for your customer to buy from you. That reason that you are making is a bridge. Now, the bridge can be tactical, which means that you're making a generic statement which says that my software, my product, this give this sort of outcome. A strategic bridge is which is more important to generate power statement. A strategic bridge, which is exactly contextualizing your statement of a reason with their pain point. Not a generic tactical one, but a strategic of what is exactly this customer's pain point I'm talking to right now. Yeah. So these are some of the, I would say, tips which will help you to generate some solid power statements when you're dealing with a complex enterprise, difficult customer. So these things will help you. Yeah. Okay. Ronit, maybe if there are any questions so far, I can take it up and then move to the power for the slides.
So on the chat, I don't see anything. People, okay, yeah, we have a question. Please go ahead.
Can you put some light on generate your bridges? Because that seems to be a more important point among all those.
Yeah, exactly, Surabhi. So there are some of the further slides where I will cover bridges in detail. So I'll show you exactly the statements which can be used to generate these bridges.
Okay, thank
Sure.
you.
Also, Mahindra, you can unmute yourself. Mahindra, yeah, you can once again try and unmute. Yeah, please go
Hello.
ahead.
Related to bridges only, I also have the same questions. So, can you please give us some examples of tactical and strategic?
Sure, I will do that, Mahindra. I will subsequent two slides are the same. So I stopped in here to understand I've covered a lot. So anything so far which you want to ask, bridges I will cover up in subsequent two slides.
Sure. We have another question from Raghavi. Raghavi, if you can
Yeah.
go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, please. Thank you. So I'm working on a telecalling company. So I have to talk over call only, but I can't understand the people with whom I'm talking. Like I can't do the research. Who are they? What are their needs? And why they have come to this product. So based on the call only, I have to understand. And there are more people who will be lying also. Some people will be very genuine. So based on the conversation, how can we understand what is their need and how can we convince them that this product is their solution?
Sure. So Raghavi, typically in a telecalling environment, like I said, tactical bridge will play a very important role because it will give a generic statement of how your thing will help the customer. Now, I don't know, in your context, how many calls you need to make. But what I can tell you is, in your all the calls that you make, even if you find one customer which you think will buy it from you, not today, maybe next week or sometime, that's where you should shift your focus on that one customer and search on him. Yeah, and that's how typically telecalling environment I understand works. That out of 10 calls that you make, one customer will be a impactful customer in the long term for you. Now you have to understand that one customer, research on that one customer only, and then move to a strategic way of bridging it.
Got it. So I'm actually working with the techno education, like online coaching and teaching industry. So here people come here when they are interested, but after watching the webinar, most of them will not be interested. They will be like, maybe I will not be the right fit, or I don't have the time now to learn these things. So after the webinar, 50% will be dropped off, and only 10% will be genuinely interested. And out of the 10%, only one or two will be interested to move forward with the payment.
Okay.
And that also they will not be having the money now. Maybe they will have some commitments in the personal issues. So they will be saying, I'll be joining after a month or two. But when we are following them up, they will not be ready to make the payment at all after a month.
Sure. I think Raghavi here, what I can tell you is for the 50% people who directly go away and do not even come in the final 10% stage, two things you can do here. For 50%, you should take a feedback from them that why they went away. Some survey, some feedback survey, you can take it from them and get some idea of why they even came for the workshop, what they did not like in your workshop. That's one. Second, out of 10% people who are finally moving ahead in the workshop and trying to buy finally, those are your, I would say, critical people. You should do more research on them because those 10% who have moved ahead of workshop and trying to buy, do solid research on them before you finally talk further to them. That should help.
Got it. So if the person is interested and we are following them up for at least 5 to 6 times, what are contents that we can share when we do the follow-ups?
When you do the follow-ups, it is not just follow-ups, Raghavi, is what I can tell you. It should not be just, what do you thought, what is the feedback. The follow-ups have to go with, again, some power statements, like I said, or it should go with some solid ROIs again. That we should talk about, we heard last this from you. Whatever you're doing right now will give you this much outcome in next 1 year. What are your thoughts? I would say not just simply follow up. Do follow-ups, but with some solid value adds, solid power statements again and again. That will help them. So share with them information from the market, share with them more information of how other customers, got the outcome and how can they similarly achieve their goals if they buy it. Yeah. So don't just follow up, do it with some value and power statements is what I can say.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Raghavi. We have another question from Gautam. Gautam, you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, Gautam.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Gautam, I can hear you.
Hi, Dipanshu. Thank you so much for this session. Yeah. So, Dipanshu, regarding my case is that, I'm working with the legal consultation firm where, but my, my area is where people come for legal consultation and they come to our checkout. But however, something might have changed their mind and they cancel the order because there's a consultation fee before they make a consultation with any lawyer. So I have to call them And so what is the tips, what are the tips from your end, would you guide? Because I'm just newly in this, just a week now, just 1 week, I'm in this field. So I just want to know, from your end, what will be the approach to the customer who came to our website, almost bought it, but then however they left unpaid, and they left. So I have to call them. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is
So I
my
think,
situation. Yes.
yeah. So I think Gautam, what I would tell you is, if customer is coming on your website or anywhere and they are in the final stages of paying to you, you have to regularly interact with that customer, most importantly. And like I said to previous person also, that anybody who's in the final 10%, that means in the bottom funnel, and that they might buy in next 1 week or 1 month, you have to regularly engage with that person. If it's a B2C customer, do engagement every 2 to 3 weeks. And engagement is not just sending emails, call them. If it's a B2B customer, do engagement at least once a week, right? Now, calling them, should not be just about, like I said in the previous conversation, just follow up that you have to pay, they will not pay like this. Calling up should be about building rapport. That is where you have to build relationship. He is my final person who will buy in, he's in the bottom funnel and may buy in next 1 week. Do not go out and sell him. In that final stage, try and build rapport. Ask him about how he's feeling, what's happening. Understand him. Why he wanting to buy from you. Don't say that. Is there a struggle to pay anything? Ask him. Do you do you read? Will this really solve your problem? Do you think this is the right product? That will give him the confidence that Gautam is not coming to me to pay. Gautam is coming to me to really understand my problem. And I can tell you, a lot of people will shift and will actually pay it to you then.
Now that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Gautam. I think Dipanshu, we can take the session
Sure.
forward.
Great. Okay. So I think
Dipanshu, we have one more question from Sai. Would you like to take it?
yeah,
Okay.
please.
Sai, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. My last question would be, so how would I figure out when generally what I do is on a daily basis I meet CEOs and CFOs, and just even I'm looking for a channel partnership customer uh, apart from the customer acquisition. I'm looking at channel. It's been a challenge when I try to see some of the people, we see them as a competitors, but there is always a space for collaboration. Togetherly, in a 360 degrees, we can give a good experience for the customers. That's what the ultimate objective is. So how should I conduct myself or position myself in case of channel partnership when I talk to them?
To find
So they
channel
see us as a competitors. They definitely
Hmm.
view us as a competitors, and they step back. They say that we do not want to, they don't say directly no. They say that we'll get back to you on that part. But the problem is they see us as a competitors, but we find a space for collaboration to give a 360-degree solution. Yeah.
So why do they see you as a competitor if you are really collaborating? Maybe they're not understanding if you are really collaborating or being a competitor. See, I don't know, Sai. I would say that if they are thinking you as a competitor and you are thinking
Okay.
them as a collaborator, there is a gap in your messaging somewhere,
Okay.
right? So your messaging to them has to go in a way that they should also think of you as
Okay.
collaboration and not as a competition.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So maybe messaging is a problem I see here, what you are communicating to them.
Okay. 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 Got it.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Sai. Yeah, Dipanshu, we can take the session forward.
Right. Okay, Ronit. So I think there are last two slides, which I will cover more on from a bridge perspective. Before I move to the bridges, I would want to take a back step and first make you understand where does a bridge actually comes in. Yeah. So in a any sales conversation, it can be opening conversation, it can be conversation which happens later on. And typically for when you open up with a prospect, it goes like a 5-step process where you start with getting their attention as a first step of any sales conversation when you open with a customer. Second is you identify yourself, you tell them what you want as a third step. Fourth is you want something, so you have to bridge it with a because, right? So I'll cover bridge in detail now, but this is where the bridge comes in, where you have to, make them understand because I want this, and that's where I need you to, buy this from me. And last again is you clearly ask it from your customer that what do you want from the customer? Yeah. So the typical 5-step process, which you should typically keep in your mind when you are talking to any of your prospect. Now, I'll give you an example of exactly, how this conversation should go in a two different approaches. In first approach, I will make the bridge as a tactical bridge. In second approach, I'll make the bridge as strategic bridge. Tactical bridge is typically used, like I said, when you're talking with customer whom you do not know much about. Like you're talking with a customer first time, or it's like a telecalling, or you do not have researched much. Strategic bridges where it's a complex client, a complex customer, and high end deal. That's where you have to strategically bridge it. Yeah. So first, let's start with a tactical bridge. Now, what tactical bridge means is common to large group of similar prospects. So a common statement which can go to a large group of people. Now, exactly how a statement will look like is, again, it will follow that 5-step process I showed you in the previous slide. So this is a typical statement. It starts with identifying yourself. So, hi, this is Dipanshu from ABC Consultants. So if you see the slide, you got their attention. Hi, Ashok. You identified yourself. Then third step is you tell them that what you want. So I told them what I want is, the reason I'm calling is to schedule an appointment with you to show you our new HRMS software. Now, that's where the bridge starts, because you have got their attention, you have identified yourself, you have told them why you're calling them. Now, the bridge here is a tactical bridge where you're giving them a generic statement of why they should listen to you. Because many of my clients face a challenge of end-to-end employee lifecycle management tool, which is highly customizable to their context. So we created this tool to create a world-class employee experience and a better employer brand for your company, resulting in better productivity from your employees. Now, I made this a large statement. You can try and make it shorter as per your own, product, your own company. So from this statement, many to this word employees is exactly my bridge, where I'm telling them that why you should listen to me. Last is where I'm asking them what I wanted. How about we get together for a short meeting, 2 p.m. on coming Tuesday? Yeah. So this exactly follows that 5-step process where I got their attention, I identified myself, I told them the reason to call them. I plugged a bridge. It's a long bridge, but you can make it a shorter bridge as well. And then finally, I asked them what I really wanted. Yeah. Now, what I want to cover specifically here is the bridge here is very generic. Now, if you see here, I'm giving them a very generic example of many of my clients face challenge of an end-to-end employee lifecycle management tool, which is highly customizable to their context. So that's why we created this tool, which is world-class, good employee experience, because I know that this customer typically buy HRMS tool, but I do not know that what exactly is their problem. I do not know it right now. So this is a very generic statement I made that because my clients buy it from me, they got better employee experience, they got better productivity. So you should also buy it from me. Yeah, a tactical one. Now, if I show you a similar example and make a strategic bridge, because in strategic bridge, what happens is I know my customer. I know this is a very high value prospect, and this individual, I know him, I know his company, I've seen his annual report, I've seen his pain points through some secondary research in the market. I know this guy, and I know where exactly this company is facing the problem right now. So here, the exact statement remains same. So my opening statement, my everything remains same. But what you see from I read here is a strategic intervention. So what I say here is, I read in a recent article that you are ramping up your workforce and need some AI-based solution to onboard and improve employee experience across the life cycle. What I'm telling them is that I saw your article on the newspaper, I saw something on some of the website, and I found that you are struggling with something. That's where we'll, hint your prospect that he knows me, he knows my pain point, and that's where what's in it for me comes in, because now the customer know that this is something I need. Yeah. And then I further, amplify the whole bridge by saying I have done similar intervention with your competitor and their satisfaction score has gone up by 37%. Yeah. Now this is exactly what I'm telling him is a credential, a power statement I'm bringing in, where I'm telling him that I've done this exactly for your competitive company. Let's say I'm talking to Infosys, and I'm telling him I've done it for TCS, for example. Infosys will listen to me then because they know that they want to know what my competition is doing. Yeah. So this in turn has helped to boost the employee productivity overall and thus a so strong positive financial impact for them. This is where the ROI comes in. Anything which will give your customer a positive financial impact, a positive ROI, they will be interested, I can tell you. If you can make a bridge which will give them positive income, positive return on investment, they will listen to you. Yeah. So this is a bridge which is a very strategic bridge. And finally, I covered it with a ask that I want from my customer is how about a short meeting 2 p.m. tomorrow? This is what I want from him. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm exactly following this 5-step process across both of my statements. One is a generic statement, one is a strategic statement where I know my customer, or it's a high-end deal for me. Yeah. So I think this is about the bridges. Open to any more questions.
Yes, thank you, Dipanshu. Maybe you can stop sharing your screen and we can start taking the questions out here. Yes, people, all the queries, I think we resolved a lot of queries in between. But anyone else who has any particular query where Dipanshu can help you in this particular topic that Dipanshu has been talking about, or if you have any other sales related or any other topic that you would like to ask any question, please go ahead. You can raise your hand and I can unmute you. Yes, Gaurav, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, actually, I'm having one question. Like sometimes we introduce our superiors to the end client, and most of the time, then after like during a finalization, the end client starts conversation with our superior, directly with the superior, bypassing us. Who is the actually the main frontline salesperson? So they are sidelining and directly speaking to the superior, and superior also take the advantage of taking the credit of this deal. So how to deal with in such a situation?
So Gaurav, I would say, see, if it's a high value deal, it's a deal which is complex deal and giving a lot of revenue to you, is absolutely fine to bring in a superior. And if the customer is talking to superior in those high value complex deals, is absolutely fine. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you will get your credit of whatever sales that happen there. Yeah, you will get your incentive. In those cases, you should be happy being a relationship manager for the customer and let your boss or your manager close the things. Specifically, if it's a high-end complex deal. But if it is a small deal, with lesser revenue potential, ideally you should have the capability in the long term, if you are experienced enough, to close it end to end. Yeah. So if you think that the customer is talking to your manager and not coming to you even for a small ticket size deal, then you should introspect that why this happened, what I did not do right in this scenario, and what should I improve in myself. in the subsequent meetings. Yeah, for small deals. So think about that and try and improve in those aspects. Yeah.
Thanks, Gaurav. Dastagir has a question. Dastagir, yeah, please go ahead. Dastagir, if you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Dipanshu. Actually, I'm into like building customized solution and the tax technology. So currently, I'm working with a few big fours, right? So
Hmm.
means like one is the UI. So we are working with the UI. So I'm gonna to approach like all three big fours. So I'm currently approaching the Deloitte, right? So when
Hmm.
I get in the conversation with the partners of the Deloitte, so maybe
Hmm.
what happened that the all the time they try to refer to the another guy. So how
Hmm.
can we make that conversation like more effective that that they direct connect with me, not to refer to the another guy?
Okay. So this kid, see, I don't know who is your end customer or who's the decision maker here. See, the partner can just be one of the stakeholder. The decision maker can be somebody else. So again, you do not have to think that why partner, forwarded me to some other and now why he is not, talking to me. See, again, as I said, at the end of the day, it's about building relationship and making that sale happen, for you. Do not get into these things that why he partner is not coming up. Maybe decision maker is somebody else. Maybe
Okay,
partner will come in at the end stage to evaluate, and he wants somebody else to evaluate first, and then top two or top three should come to the partner. That's typically happen in complex sales.
right,
Yeah, do not worry if somebody else is coming in who is junior and evaluating. It's absolutely a part of a enterprise complex sales cycle. Partner will come at the end stage.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you, sir.
sure. Thanks.
Thank you, Dastagir. We have another question from Mahendra. Mahendra, if you can unmute yourself.
Dipanshu, my question is after we do the demonstration to the customer,
Hmm.
so after that, how long it can take the follow-up related to that product? So customers, for example, customers is giving us time for 1 week. So after one
Hmm.
week, normally we call him or ask him what the latest update.
Hmm.
So my question is, how long we can take the follow-up from that customer?
Right. Okay. So, Mahendra, see, if the customer is giving you 1 week, and you are taking follow up in a week's time, either he or she will reply or not reply to you, right? What you should do is you should just stick to your sales process. Typical sales process says that if customer is asked to follow up after a week's time, you do the follow up. Yeah, you do your work. If he or she doesn't pick up the call, absolutely fine, no problem. Just drop them a message and drop them an email that I tried calling you for this thing. We talked last week. Let me know when can I talk next. The important point here is that you take commitments. See, in a good sales process, commitment from your customer is important. So when you're talking to the customer first time, you should take commitment of when should I call you next. If they say you will call me next week, I would suggest if it's a good complex high end deal, drop them an email that thanks for your time. As discussed, I will call you next week on 15th February for this thing, right? That will bring commitment to your customer also that this guy has committed that he will call me 15th February because I told him. So he will take his on his particular thing that because I told him, that's why he's calling me. Yeah. So try and do that as a part of your sales process. It will help you to get the meeting from the customer next time also.
But Dipanshu, sometimes what happened,
Hmm.
customers is just giving us next only.
Hmm.
So how long?
See, if the
He's
customer,
just giving us the time,
yeah,
not
see,
giving us a proper time. So next week when I
hmm,
called him or she, So he just give me the next week or after next week. So in this case, what is the what we can do?
See, Mahendra, to be honest, you can't do anything. You have to understand and think that if the customer is not answering, there can be two, three scenarios to it. One scenario is the customer doesn't need the thing right now. He is delaying the buying cycle to further delay. This is scenario number one. In this scenario, you should directly ask your customer, is have you already bought it from somewhere else, or you want me to wait for another 2 months? Directly, openly ask this to the customer. Do not follow up. Scenario two can be he is following up because he really wants to buy, but it doesn't has made up his mind right now, and he might be thinking, I need 1 more week, I need 2 more weeks. That's scenario number two. You know, again, in all these scenarios, Mahendra, your approach should be to ask right question to your customer and ask a question which is like, you really care for him. Directly ask him, should I wait for another 1 month or 2 months before I call you again? If he says yes, that's fine, right? So ask right questions when you follow up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mahendra. Raghavi, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. So, Dipanshu, that was a great workshop today we have attended. And I have one more question to ask you. Since I am working in the coaching industry, people are interested to take the course, but they are afraid to pay the amount because it is a premium product. For example, if you are paying 1 lakh plus for online coaching, people are really afraid of what kind of input they will be getting after joining in. They are afraid if I will be scammed or something like that. So how to overcome even after sharing the testimonials of our past students' experience?
Hmm. See, Raghavi, here I think the trust factor has to be built in. To build trust in any of your customers' mind, three things plays very important role. Number one is, the product that you are selling. It has to really have the right messaging for your customer. Number two is you yourself. So how much the customer trusts you, as a person, relationship manager, account manager. That's a second important point which will help to build trust in mind of your customer. And number three is your company. How much trustable, how much brand or how much marketing your company is doing in the back end, will build a trust factor in mind of your customer. So all these three things have to jointly go to really build that trust factor, where I hear from you that the struggle point is the customer are not trusting. So product, you yourself, and the company. These things jointly have to go in.
Okay, got it. So since the past testimonials are good, people have made good amount of money using this product. So the testimonials is good. Company reputation is also good because they are working for the past 3+ years. And what can I do to improve my confidence or to build a rapport with the client so that he has the confidence to pay the amount?
So to build your confidence, you should know the stories of your successful customers, and you have to tell those stories to your prospects. Customer will find you confident and will find you, really a trustful person, because you know that what impact your product is creating in the life of other customers who have already bought from you.
Got it. So if the past testimonials story is different from the current lead's story, then he may differ in that situation, right? Like that person doesn't know the basics. That is why he's been able to be confident or even be successful with this product. But I know the basics and how will this work for me? That situation arises.
So see, your story has to be different from testimonial. Testimonial is what any client has given to your company, and your company is showing that in their marketing. What is your marketing? Your marketing is, customers beyond the people who are given testimonials. Their personal successes. So you should tell those stories to your prospect.
Okay, stories apart from the testimonials, right?
Yeah, apart from testimonial stories, that I have worked with these 5 clients. They have used it like in last 2 months, and I know that they have got this sort of ROI when they used it, because I personally worked with these customers over last 6 months.
Okay, got it. So really eye-opening session for me. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Raghavi, for that feedback. Okay, we have Divjot's father, if I'm not wrong. If you see 9C, that's actually uh, his son's Zoom ID.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
unmuted. Am I
Yes,
audible?
yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Please go
Yeah.
ahead, sir.
Thanks. Nice workshop. So what I would like to ask is that if the customer is already a competition customer
Mm.
and he is having problem with the competition, that is one. And B is that he is satisfied with the customer. In both the situations, what my pitch should be.
You are asking two different situations. One is
Yes.
problem with the competition, one is satisfied with the competition.
Yes.
Okay, so I think the first case is fairly simple where there's a problem with the competition, but the point here is that you should know that what is the pain point with the competition, where exactly the struggle is with the competition, and then you have to ideally build a story around how you can solve that particular problem and pain point. But you should also not discourage your competition at any point in time in front of your customers. You should not say that they're not doing good. You should say that they are good people, they have done well, this is a very good company. But what you can just show is we did this for our customers, we are this, and your story about your customer should your story about your own company should solve that pain point. You should never discourage your competition in front of your customer. That's very important point. The prospect will not trust you, is what I have seen in my life. Second, when your competition and the prospect is already happy with the competition, what I can say is go to your competition, really appreciate your competition. Say they are doing fantastically well. I know they are helping customers, they're doing good stuff. And then the only way you can, get the win here is you try and differentiate yourself and you try and build rapport with the customer. In these cases, relationship building with your customers and really differentiating yourself of what different you are doing in the market will help, but this will take long time to crack deals because your prospect is already happy with the competition. Yeah, so I would say try and build good relationships in this case will help.
Yeah, thanks. In fact, what I have seen is that over the period, the organizations have started feeling in this digital world that in sales, a relationship is not that very important. But I personally feel that it is the most important thing in sales.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why AI cannot replace sales in the long term because that's about human to human touch, empathy with the customers. All of these things will remain specifically in complex B2B sales. And even in B2C sales, because you have to deal with the customer, you should really understand your customer, which AI cannot do.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Murli, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Good morning. This is Murali. Actually, we are working in a ERP system. So our customers are a little bit from unorganized industries like constructions and quarry and crushes, raw material. So first thing is they are doing all the business through networking. We are the new player to break the networking and wants to convince them the non-education customers to educate this. How much it is easy to start the conversation to make a report. What is the power words we can use it for improving our business?
Okay, Murali, I think there was a lot of background noise. I
Sorry.
couldn't very clearly hear it. Ronit, can you help me on this, please? Because of the background noise.
Same issue with me as well. Murli, if you can just repeat your question.
Yeah. Once again,
Hmm.
Sure. Murli, take your time while we take
You can
Shanavaz's
type on the chat,
question.
Murali, if you want.
Yeah. Shanavaz, if you can unmute yourself.
Sure. Hey, Ronit and Dipanshu, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. So my question is, I work for a B2B company. I mean, I work for a logistic-based software providing company where we give transport management solutions to the B2B companies in particular. What challenges I'm facing is even though we have clients since 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, it's been a bit of a challenge to sell out in a B2B sector where they're already with us, they're paying for the subscription and everything, to give them the new modules what we are developing in the industry. And these modules, we showcase them, we give a demo to them, we send the release notes, we showcase how it can solve the problem. We did talk to the people whom we have built a good rapport, and we've been talking to them every now and then, business reviews. But there's a bit of, I should say, I should say that the conversion is not happening, to be very honest. That why is that stopping? And there is honestly just said, hey, okay, this is good, but we are not ready for, or there will be some or other reason. To get through that channel has been a challenge. The rapport is built, they trust our system, they trust all those things, but the new modules which will, help us to, one thing is to sell that out, is to make sure that it is really helping them and we are really making the right modules to help the industry, especially the logistics industry we are in. The second thing is, of course, to generate the revenue.
Got it.
So,
Got it. So, Shanawaz, I think here, what's an ideal way which we have done a lot of time is that if it's your existing client, you're already dealing with them and you want to position your new modules in front of them, the best way here is to do a free pilot for them because they're already paying you money, and they are your customers. Why not just do a 1 week, 2 week free pilot with your new modules? Tell them, you can buy it for 50 people or do a 2 week, 3 week free trial, 1 month free trial, and then get the revenue from them. That's the best way to position new solutions, new product in front of your existing clients.
all right. You had done that to some of them, but it was really not good conversion. There could be, the reason could be like, there could be anything. It could be money related, it could be the operation related and all. So that's one suggestion, you saying that you may give them a pilot or something like that.
Plus, what I can also say you is if you have done some pilots, do research, talk to your customer, and even if you're doing pilot, do not just do pilot for a 1 month and sit on your seat. Go and talk to them every week. Okay, what did you use for? What happened? Any feedback for us? Anything you want us to improve? That thing will build that relationship in that 1 month pilot phase. And then chance of conversion after the pilot goes up. That will help a lot in converting in the final stages.
Understood. Okay, that makes sense, Dipanshu. Thank you.
Sure, thanks.
Dipanshu, we have Murli's question. He has commented that he's working with construction companies and difficult to get appointments as well as building rapport with them. So how can he make a conversation with those kind of prospects? The reason he also mentions out here is that they are technically strong. Getting a direct meeting with the decision makers is very difficult for him.
So I think Murali here, what would really help you is, 2, 3 things which I can think of. One is definitely a strong power statements, like I said, power statements which you know your market well. So what I can tell you is that you should make quick 1, 2 liner statement which really impact your decision maker, impact them financially, impact them in whatever way your product is in. So if you're selling to construction companies, let's say some of your home decor items, the impact can be on the cost side of it, impact can be on the quality side of it, and try and build story with those impacts. So building story with those impacts, identifying decision makers, where they're buying from right now and how can you differentiate from that particular thing will I would say help. But again, in the back end, a strong marketing has to be there to push it from your company side.
Got it. Thanks Murli for the question. Anyone else before we wind up today's session? In a count of 5. Okay, I think we are okay to wind up today's session. First of all, thank you so much, Dipanshu, for sharing a lot of small points that you have mentioned. Even I've taken notes, and I think one good thing I feel as a host when the session is going on is that when people ask you a question that I want to know about this, and you say that, okay, I have this in the subsequent slides, right? I think that's a great win for the session, for you as well, for us as well, right? So thank you so much for picking the right things. I mean, solving the real queries that people have, right? So thank you so much, Dipanshu, for taking all these efforts.
Sure. Thank you, Ronit. And thank you, everyone. I would say thanks, everyone, for participating.
Cool. Thank you, Dipanshu. On that note, thank you so much, everyone. We would like to wind up today's session by saying that we'll be back once again next week. As we have been doing this for the past 2 years, we'll be back next week with another leader. We'll take up another topic and resolve your queries and give you one or two learnings that you can implement the next week. We are not telling you to take 100 learnings or, I mean, more than that. Simple one or two learnings that you can implement on your subsequent weeks. And any point of time you have any challenges in any particular topic, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, write it to us. The email ID is always mentioned out there. So write us what kind of topic that you would like to know, and we'll get a speaker from the industry that is relevant to the question and resolve your query. So on that note, people who are watching us live, thank you so much for joining us as well. We'll be back next week. And yeah, on that note, yeah, this is Ronit signing off from Juno School of Business. Thank you.